Sometimes we look at the world's problems and think they're so big, we wonder what we can do. But my friend Erin shows us that all we need to do is see what is in front of us and then do what we can do.
My earliest memory was back in high school, and I remember seeing a homeless man sitting outside, and he was asking for food, and just having this heart it just made me so sad to see him. So just getting out and giving him the rest of my sandwich. I mean, it was like lunchtime in high school. And that's just the first time I can remember looking back at having a heart for people out on the streets. Later on in life, I worked with Meals on Wheels. Just also, it's funny to look back and connect the dots at all these different things. We found out from somebody in our church that there was a meal share going on at Alameda Park, and they asked, at the time Westmont was doing it, so they asked if just this one time we could come and prepare the food and serve it. And I was sitting in the service and I thought, I could do that. That's an easy thing to do. I mean, at the time I had, I think, an infant at home and a toddler, and it was probably the last thing I had time for, but I remember just feeling really connected to it and saying, I can do this. So I brought a meal, and it was just a lovely evening. I couldn't believe how warm it was and how welcoming and how nice everybody was on both sides of the table. And so I asked the woman who was heading it up for Ocean Hills, can we keep doing this? Could we maybe do this once a month for them? And she was overwhelmed at the time and said, no, I couldn't run that, but you should, feel free. And I thought, oh gosh, I don't know if I can do that, but it was just one of those opportunities. I mean, God had planted a seed early on, and I knew I had this compassion for people who were on the streets. I just didn't really know what to do with that. And so here was an opportunity. Here was a door opened. It was definitely overwhelming at first to think, oh gosh, now I'm heading this up. And I was just volunteering this one time, and now I'm in charge. And I didn't even know that many people at our church at the time. I mean, we would so many times get to the day of Thursday, and I'd look at the sign-up sheet in the morning, and no one would have signed up yet, or 2 people would have signed up, and we needed 4 more burrito pies. It's so funny, God literally showed up every time and must have whispered in people's ears that day, because people would all of a sudden check in, and I mean, more times than not, the list was always filled up, even if it came down to the last minute. I had the opportunity to go to a conference with our church, and it was a great conference, but the very last workshop that I went to was kind of the whole reason I know I was there. It was called Unleashing Compassion in Your Community. And it was just this amazing class on how to gather people in your church and really do local missions. And so from there, I called John, our pastor, and said, we have to have this person on staff. Like, we need someone to do this. Not thinking me at all. I was plenty busy, but I said, someone needs to do this. Like, we could really grow our missions. We could go from beyond what we're doing at the park to so many more things. And then one thing led to another, and all of a sudden I ended up with that job. As busy as we are, I know from experience that there's always room to add more if it's something that is in your heart and you're being called to it. If you say yes to it, and if you acknowledge that seed in your heart, and you see that doors are opening around you, you got to listen to that, and you never know where it will lead.